our purpose to have this candidate forum is so you can see the candidates face to face, ask them questions on the issues that are of importance to you. So the agenda will be as follows. 2 minutes to make an opening statement, and I have statements from 2 of the candidates to read for them. Then we will turn to questions, your questions. They will have 2 minutes to answer. Then following that, we'll do closing statements of, again, 2 minutes. They drew numbers for speaking order. And so we'll let them begin right now. And the first person to speak is Nancy Livingston.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much for coming. I imagine we would have had a bigger crowd, but the Prince concert is being held downtown, so some of our viewers apparently are there. Seriously, our public schools are the most important asset of our community. And I'm running because I love the schools, I love the people, I love the district, love the students. I want to do all I can to make things better. I do have to say that I am worried. Our schools are being starved financially, and this is a concern. The setup in Minnesota is that, you know, the state does not give you enough money to run the district the way it needs to be run. So a local effort is expected, and ours has not been increased for 14 years. So as a board, we unanimously approved asking people to raise the levy, and I certainly hope that passes on November 8th. Be sure to vote. What I bring to this enterprise as a background in communication and education, I was a newspaper reporter for the St. Paul Pioneer Press for 25 years, and then I went to work for the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities system and worked at Century College for 13 years. Currently, as a senior citizen, I went to work for the Minnesota Senate as a staff member, and that's what I'm currently doing. Finally, I'm especially interested in working to equalize education in Minnesota, and I'll do whatever I can to bring that fight to St. Paul. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next to speak is Teresa Auger.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Teresa Auger, and I'm running for re-election to the school board. I'm passionate about quality education for all learners. I'm a huge supporter of our public education and our community schools. I'm married to Terry Auger, in the back there, for nearly 28 years, and together we have 2 daughters. Both are proud graduates of our 622 public schools. We've made Oakdale our home for the last 23 years. I got involved with our public schools when our oldest daughter was in kindergarten, whether it was being a parent volunteer, chair of the PTO, member of the advisory committee, or a school board member. I'm proud of our school district and our schools. I've served our district community in many capacities. I've invested in our community as an active volunteer with civic activities, youth groups, and as a former teacher at Century College. Through my involvement with parents, students, and citizens groups, I understand the issues facing our district and community. I'm always ready to ask those tough questions, and I do. I believe that education is the ingredient to individual success and strong communities. We must continue to provide programs for our stakeholders from early childhood to our seniors. I will continue to work towards enhancing these avenues that provide children with opportunities, staff with resources, good paying jobs and salaries, employees with fair competitive contracts, and buildings that are favorable for learning. The issues facing school districts today are staggering. Having informed and dedicated Advocates of publication are essential. I'm committed to devoting my time, my knowledge, energy to invest in the future of our children. Together, I think we can accomplish more. And I ask for your support and your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
And next is Richard Bennett. And Richard, can I ask you to remove the sign from the wall up there?
We're not allowed visual aids.
No.
Campaign literature.
That's
No
not
visual
campaign
aids.
literature.
No visual aids.
If I had a chart, they'd have to take that down. Okay.
That was part of the ground rules.
No, it said no campaign literature. Anyway, my name is Rich Bennett. This is a presidential year, so I was going to say thank you for coming. I was kind of worried that there wouldn't be enough interest, but I see there's only maybe a dozen people out here now, which is kind of what I expected. Communication is not the forte of our district. I don't really understand why we're afraid to talk to our taxpayers. If I'm elected to the board, that will change, because even if the rest of the board don't show up, I'll show up once a month and meet with people at the local libraries, local coffee hall. A lot of people, not one at a time. If you've been watching any of the TV, you'll see Donald Trump on the Republican side earned probably 30% of the vote. Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side earned about 30% of the vote. And what they have in common is they don't like the status quo. It's inefficient and it's ineffective. And I think that's what we have here. So 60% of the people don't like it nationwide, and I hope 60% of the people are tired of it in the district. I've been advocating open communications with the public, and that's not what I've gotten. I've got this. This is from their website. If you try to look up anything in their meetings, it says,
Mr. Bennett,
studies, welcome to our thing, but sit down and shut up. They don't want to hear you. You're not allowed to talk at the board meetings. You're not allowed to talk at the study sessions. It's just insane. And I'd like to change that. My name again is Rich Bennett, and I'm sure you'll hear more from me.
thank you. Steve Hunt.
Well, I want to thank the League for presenting us with this opportunity this evening. I want to have a little bit of a different message. I want to tell you what I think is a success story in our district, and it's self-serving because it's my family. My wife and I moved here. We're homeowners in North St. Paul. We moved here 25 years ago. My wife and her family went through the public education here and graduated from North. And my wife and I have 6 children who have attended Richardson, John Glenn, and North High School. And I want to tell you a little bit about my kids because I think we're an average family. My oldest boy, John, graduated from St. Thomas, graduated from William Mitchell, and now works for the Department of Human Rights. My second boy, Joe, has a job with a major local retailer. My son, Jacob, graduated from UMD and is now in his master's program. After we had 3 boys, we decided to have a balanced family, and over a number of years adopted 3 girls. My oldest girl, Ivana, I was able to give her graduation diploma at North, and she completed her education at the Next Step program. My second daughter, Izza, who we thought would also end up at Next Step, is now in a mainstream classroom setting at North High. My youngest daughter, Teji, is an avid scholar at John Glenn. As you can see, we have a diverse family. I have lots of experience in working with special education, IEPs, paying for college, and I have to tell you that without the support of the taxpayers and the teachers and the administration in this school district, my children and my family would not be enjoying the success that they have. A good public education is truly the foundation of everything that we do, and I remain committed to be able to work on behalf of public education for the next 4 years.
Thank you. Then I have statements from 2 of the candidates, which I will read. And the first is from Becky Navy.
Navy.
Good evening, due to a prior work commitment out of state, I am unable to be present tonight for this forum. My thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event and for the opportunity to provide this information to you in my absence. My name is Becky Nevy, my husband Hans, and I have been married for 22 years and have lived in Maplewood for nearly 20 years. We have 2 children who attend school in District 622. Grant is a freshman at North High, and Isabel is in 7th grade at John Glenn Middle. I am a registered nurse and licensed public health nurse with a Bachelor of Arts degree in nursing from Gustavus Adolphus College. I've been actively involved in the district community for almost 10 years. While my children were at Richardson, our volunteer efforts resulted in fundraising of over $70,000, which was used to support and enhance the education there. I continue to volunteer at the school, but for the past 4 years, my focus has shifted to my development and work as a board member. I've attended all 4 phase trainings sponsored by MSBA, Minnesota School Board Association, as well as clerk training and annual conferences. I've also served on the Tartan Arena Joint Powers Board and as the student board rep mentor. Great things are happening in 622, but there is more work to be done. While our achievement gaps are less than the state, we need to continue to focus on decreasing the gaps by bolstering the existing strategies already in place. I believe expanding our partnerships with local businesses, community members, and college graduate students would enhance our efforts in this area. Then the next candidate that has submitted an opening statement is Dan Porter. And his statement: thank you for holding this candidate forum to help voters identify candidates that are running for District 622 School Board. I regret that I am not able to attend this forum, but appreciate your generosity in allowing my participation in an open and closing statements. Having worked for over 13 years in education, holding both a school social worker and director of education license, and currently working in the school system for Intermediate School District 916. My campaign is built around 4 core values that I hold true to my heart: inclusive curriculum, quality instruction, community and family focus, financial and fiscal responsibility. I believe that, 1, there are opportunities for all. Every student should have access to learning that incorporates their specific needs and learning styles. 2, we stand behind and promote a collaborative process. Community educators, students, and parents are at the table making decisions. 3, knowledge is power. Curriculum, technology, and quality instruction are essential in supporting and advancing students to be creative thinkers and problem solvers. 4, retaining the best. We must focus serious efforts on hiring and retaining the best educational staff in the state. 5, diversity is our asset. Students and staff working across cultures is an asset and will build a better future for all. I have both a personal and professional stake in School District 622, as my spouse and I have 2 children ages 3 and 14 that attend schools here. Okay, thank you. So now we'll turn to the questions. And the first person to answer the first question is Richard Bennett. If the levy does not pass, what will be your next steps?
Well, I've looked at the cuts for the last couple of years, looked at specifically the cuts for this year, And there's 9 basic cuts. 4 are actually shifts. One's a refund. Only 4 of them are cuts. They haven't seriously done a lot to do the cuts. And I think seriously we're gonna have to do the cuts. They claim that last year they laid off 85, in the last 2 years, 85 staff. Looking at the list, it doesn't really have classroom staff.
The microphone, please.
It's, yeah, it's not really classroom staff they've been cutting. When I've talked to Christine, I said, how has our big cuts affected the classroom? And the response I got was, school's still doing fine, hasn't affected the classroom. But if the levy does pass, taxes are due in a couple of days, and my taxes next year, the education part will go up 23%. I don't think they've seriously done their homework. Some of the cuts they've done, they were eliminated almost $50,000 worth of software licenses. It's like, if you've been making cuts for 8 years and you still got $50,000 worth of software licenses to eliminate, you really need to get serious. Payroll department just got automated in the last year or two. Should have been done in the 80s.
You have still 30 seconds.
So I think we'll just carry on as usual. Classes will go on as usual, just like they did this year.
I've never used this timer before.
Is there time remaining then?
You can cut that part out.
You have
That's
15
fine.
seconds if you want to complete that thought.
We'll get 45 minutes or so.
All right. Next to speak is Nancy Livingston.
So again, the question refers to what will we do if the levy fails? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. If the levy fails, we'll go into a planning mode where we will ask for all hands on deck to come up with ideas for what can be cut to keep the quality in the classroom. It's a difficult thing because it's a very human enterprise, and we can't cut, $3 million by turning down the lights or turning down the heat or something. It's staff. Staff will lose positions, and this is a sad thing. I was at an event today with the Skyview Elementary principal who told me he has a 5th grade class with 37 kids in it, another one with 35 kids in it, another one with 34 kids in it. When you have that many kids in a classroom with a range of skills from, needing accelerated learning to needing, lots of individual attention, this is really, really challenging. And it'll be very difficult to sort through. But we'll do it. We will do it because we need to do the best for our kids, and we will give it our best shot. But I'm hoping that the financial picture is brighter than it would be if it failed.
Okay. Next is Steve Hunt.
Could you repeat the question for me?
If the levy does not pass, what will be your next steps?
Well, I think first of all, in order to respond to a couple of other comments about what the school has done in the past in these situations, is that I would invite anyone in the public to visit our classrooms and see the struggles that our teachers face every day trying to work with the cuts that we've done. It is true that we have cut a lot of teachers out of the classrooms, and only after we have cut other essential and non-essential services. And in the process, we have taken some of those services and spread them out among other administrative and supervisory staff. So many people that you talk to in the classrooms and in the school offices can now tell you, when they have time to talk to you, can tell you all of the extra work that they're doing as a result of the cuts that we've done. It's something that you can only truly appreciate if you actually spend time with some of the folks that are doing the work in those classrooms and in those offices. In terms of what we would do if the levy does not pass, is that we would do what we've done before, and that's gather a group of stakeholders together, parents and fellow educators, administrative personnel, and figure out what would be the best way to continue to cut what we absolutely needed to cut in order to maintain a balanced budget and still provide as much of a safety net as we can for the work that's being done in the classrooms.
Thank you. Teresa Ogier.
If the levy doesn't pass, our schools, our staff, our communities, there'll be a lot of mourning. There'll be sadness. And through all that, we will refer to what the superintendent has been toting during all of her levy presentations, which are things that could potentially be considered cutting. Busing could be affected, class size could be affected, programs could be demolished or reduced. Am I advocating any of those? No. And as such, I've worked really hard to try to get information out to our taxpayers on the levy. I think the most important thing too is to pull together a core group of representation across our district to look at what areas would voters support. We'll have to do an analysis of all the demographic data that comes in from the levy and move forward with making some decisions. But I just want to emphasize that I don't think there's a person up here that wants to see this question even posed on November 9th. And with that being said, I think I think we've done a good job just trying to say that the levy does not decrease the need in our district, and our core purpose is to just maintain. So I think it would be a disaster if we have to face that question on November 9th.
Thank you. The next question will begin with Steve Hunt. And the question is, what can the district do to reduce the achievement gap?
That's a very good question, and I get asked that a lot when I'm out visiting with people. The actual answer to it is that we've done fairly well in working on the achievement gap. We certainly haven't reached the place where we want to be, but if you go on the school website and call our superintendent and talk to some of the board members, what you'll find out is that we've actually done very well in beating the state averages, and in the process, we've actually been able to recognize the work of several reward schools who are doing tremendous work in this area. And the reason why I want to acknowledge that is because even as we just got done talking about, they're doing tremendous work in the face of millions and millions and millions of dollars in budget cuts over the recent years. I think that everyone that I talk to, and myself included, would certainly agree that even though we do the best we can certainly do better. And I would be the first one to say that with a little more, we could do a lot more. We've been actually very effective with the resources we have, but we're nowhere near where we want to be. And as a board, we're certainly not satisfied with our results so far. We want to continue to work with the teachers in the classrooms and continue to make that achievement gap smaller and smaller and more achievable every year.
Thank you. Teresa Ogier.
What can we do to decrease the achievement gap? We've had, as Steve mentioned, some classrooms, some individual success with teachers in schools, and we'll need to try to duplicate those efforts and those initiatives, find out what key pieces have worked and what we can do to duplicate those in other areas. One thing that we do know is relationships are paramount to the success of a child's academic career. And one of the things that has really evolved over the time that I've been on the board is districts now are more focused on the whole child. You know, gone are the days where a teacher didn't worry if the student had a backpack or had their lunch or had somebody at home to help them. Now teachers have that to teach, and they also have to worry about, does this child have a place to go, and the tools and resources to help them with their homework. And we have backpack programs that fill that. Those are the things we have to become and make more public so that our community can rally to support those students and those schools that have those initiatives and expand them. Because we know that when a child is successful in school, it's because they have a stake in it, in their education. And sometimes we are the only place that can advocate for that child's success. I think with all those measures in place, we will be successful at reducing the achievement gap.
Thank you. Nancy Livingston.
I'll tell you one thing that will not reduce the achievement gap, and that's increased standardized testing. I mean, that is not going to solve the problem or address the issue. I think that school culture is so important. If you've got a culture in the school of building on success and rewarding kids for the good work they're doing, and kind of a one arm around one child approach, that makes a huge difference with kids. They just respond when they know that someone cares about them. So I think it's important to have a culture in the school where people are joyful, where they want to come, where they support each other, where they, where they team teach maybe. I mean, maybe not everyone is stellar at teaching math. So they have, so they do a little switch around, you know, where they rely on the great math teachers to fill in a little bit. And in those personal learning communities, that kind of collaboration happens. And that makes a difference. That makes a difference when teachers feel supported, and there's cooperation in the building, and there's high expectations, but there's also joy.
Thank you. Richard Bennett.
Okay, I've never been accused of being politically correct. I'm kind of a cowboy. I like the charter schools because they do things differently. Generally, they do things that their students want done. There are charter schools on the north side of Minneapolis. There's charter schools in Brooklyn Center area that have had tremendous results. The guy up in Brooklyn Center or Brooklyn Park, whichever it is an incredible basketball shot. He's been on TV many times that he'll challenge anybody, including professionals. We need to get those people, get in touch with those people. What are they doing? But more importantly, we need to get the people whose kids are here who are considered low achievers. We need to get their parents in. We had a town hall meeting a month or so ago. Not one family of color was represented. Unbelievable in a community where 49% of the students at North are white. We can't get parents of the students of color to show up at our meetings. It was very well hidden in the website, so I understand why none of them showed up, but it's just disgusting that this is happening in this day and age. If we don't talk to the parents of these students and find out what they think is wrong, it doesn't matter what we think is wrong, it's what they think is wrong, then we can start to work on the problem. I know there's a community called Landfall, which is not a very affluent community, but they've got a tremendous after-school program, and it's really helped their kids. We need to support more programs like that. Get them all the help they can get. There's a couple other apartment buildings that are very low income, and I've talked to Principal Richardson that we should get Wi-Fi installed in those apartments and let the district pay for it out of the funds that we get from the AT&T communications tower at Harmony, for example.
Thank you.
I didn't hear any beeps. I can't see that far. Remember, I'm legally blind.
Hold up the red, that's what it looks like. You
I
can't
can't
read
see
the
that
word
far.
on it.
I'm legally blind. I cannot see that far. The beep was really nice.
All right. And we go to the next question. It will begin with Teresa Auger. How long have you been on the board? During that time, what initiatives have you had and followed through with? And if not on the board currently, what is an initiative that you would work for?
I've been on the board since my election in November of 2003. That puts me at, this will be my 13th year. During that time, we've had a big change on our board, and some of the initiatives that I've supported and been involved have included bringing student board members from representation from our two high schools, North and Tartan. We had a task force to assess that. I've also partaken in 2 superintendent searches, of which we've just completed a year and a half ago. Several levy initiatives, but more importantly, I brought, I think, a sense of inquiring about getting equity, supporting for our equity programs. I was the first board member that was assigned to our collaborative when we disbanded from our EMED board, and I support the use of those educational diversity dollars. But I want to just say that as a board member, we're 7 different opinions, 7 different values, 7 different actions, but once a decision is made, no matter what that decision is, whether it's 4-3, 5-2, 6-1, or 7-0, we speak with one voice. And so as much as we might have our own individuals, we work together as a team and as a front. And so I'm delighted to say of all those successes that I've been a part of. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Bennett.
That's a great question, because I've asked every board member that same question. Teresa's the only one up here who's responded. The rest of them didn't even respond. We've spent on the 4 board members that are trying to be reelected, $245,000 in salaries over the time that they've been in office. And yet they all just vote the same. Rubber stamp, rubber stamp, rubber stamp. I've gone to most of the work sessions. There's very little discussion. It's somebody takes a lead, and whatever the superintendent says, that pretty much goes. Talking about some of the things that I worked on changes or have been involved with, was with the Citizens Finance Committee during its run. There was too much information being given out to the public, so that was kind of squashed. There were some board members who were upset that people on the Citizen Finance Committee got to know a lot about what was going on at the board before the board got to vote on it. I've worked to get the study sessions televised so people could see that if there are 7 different people with 7 different opinions, we could see who agrees with us and who doesn't disagree with us, so that we could work with them to either learn from them or to explain to them their position. That's been refused for the last 15 years or so that I've been trying to get that done. They have a board retreat, which I think is ridiculous, and I've got financial numbers on how much they've spent on these retreats. They spend thousands of dollars every year to hang out. My first complaint was they always take it outside the district. people, you know, Pine Point and hotels in Stillwater pay no taxes into this district. Finally, last year, they did it into a Maplewood hotel. Thank you much.
Next is Steve Hunt.
Well, for the first time tonight, I wish I had more than. For the first time tonight, I wish I had more than 2 minutes. First of all, the initiatives, like Teresa said, the board shares a lot of the work that the public sees us do in initiatives. For instance, bringing student board representatives to the board process, working on the levies, the equity work that the school district does. All of those are important initiatives. A couple of things that I did as an individual, shortly after I was elected to the board, I was able to find time to visit all of our schools and all of our programs. Rich mentioned the stipend money that board members get. The money that board members get. Oftentimes I, as well as many of the other board members, use those funds to support programming in the district. There's been some discussion here tonight about whether or not things are rubber stamped. The reason that it might appear that way to people who say they show up at a lot of things but don't necessarily show up at everything that they say they show up at is because there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into finance decisions and policy decisions. We invested in technology for the board members a couple of years ago as an initiative to model the technology progress that we wanted to see in our school district. And as a result of that, every single board member spends a great deal of time at home on their device, looking at the research, looking at the work that the administration puts together for us to review prior to the work study sessions. There's a lot of phone calls and information that goes back and forth from the administration to the board members. So actually, what may appear to be rubber stamping to people who aren't truly informed on what we're doing is the fact that we've already done all that work. We've already had those tough questions answered, and the work studies and the other work that we do, the reason that it looks like rubber stamping is because the work has truly been done the way it should be done. We've done our homework, we've had our discussions, we've reached agreement on the things that we need to reach agreement on. And once the board, no matter the quality of the decision, once it's made, we speak as one board.
Thank you. Nancy Livingston.
Initiatives that I've supported, I mean, I'm just one board member, so, you know, not as an individual can't, you know, has no power, but as the board, we work together. But the initiatives that I have supported along with fellow board members are putting the STEM specialists in the school. That's the science, technology, engineering, and math specialists. That's been a huge boost to our schools. The kids, it turns out they love science. They find science, you know, more fun than recess. Also, because we run comprehensive schools, I'm a big fan of having a music program and theater and athletics. And these are the kinds of things that keep kids engaged and well-rounded. And I think that we've done just a wonderful job. Just in the athletic world, we had 15 teams go to the state, for example. Our music programs with the show choir at North, for example, always wins awards, and they're just fabulous. And I still go to the plays at both high schools, and they're just amazing, and such growth opportunities for our young people. So I also am a big fan of the world's best workforce legislation by the state of Minnesota that says that, for example, that kids really need to learn how to read by 3rd grade. And so we've really pushed that literacy.
Thank you. Would it help if we have the timer move up to a closer seat? Would that help you, Mr. Bennett? Sure. Would you mind moving? Come and sit right here. I think if you sat right there, and if you hold it up and keep it up for the last 30 seconds, then you know you're winding down time. Would that work for all of you?
Can you see, this is the difference between the yellow and the red, sir?
All right, hope it helps everyone, and me too, I can see it too. All right, next question, we begin with Steve Hunt. Many high school graduates are not prepared for college-level courses. How would you change that so they are prepared and successful in college or post-high school education? Mr. Hunt?
I love that question because I have several children that have been through that experience. But quite honestly, in the school district, we already address some of those issues. We actually bring college into the classrooms, and we have opportunities for children for our high school juniors and seniors to take college credit classes. That's something we're very proud of. In fact, I think if I remember right, we're number 2 in the state for the number of college credits that are earned in our high schools. And I think that's fantastic. I do think that we do have some graduation issues which are related to some of the achievement gap issues that I've been talking about, some of the initiatives that we've been doing in that area, because I think we also need to increase the number of students who successfully graduate from Tartan and North. Those figures are actually going up, but I think we could do better in those areas. And I also think that we need to give a little bit of recognition to our GED students. We graduate several hundred adult education learners every year through our GED program who have an opportunity to continue being successful in life along with all of the other challenges and experiences that they have. I think that the opportunity to bring colleges into the classrooms and make students aware of what those entrance college demands are going to be is very important. But I think we already have a track record of doing a lot of that work. I think we just have to do more of it. I think we take tremendous pride in being number 2 in the state, and I don't think it'll be long before we're number 1 because we do an awful lot of work in that area now.
Thank you. Teresa Auger.
Like Steve, I love this question, and very excited that I have children that went on to college and were successful there. But I also believe that 622 is excelling in this arena. As Steve mentioned, the facts, but one that is just super exciting is both of our high schools have the ability to identify those students that may struggle and may have difficulty being successful, and so they're targeted in a way. They're in a program. They are linked up with staff to try to get them. We are trying to encourage more of those kinds of relationships and connections. But one exciting fact that speaks to this success is that we just graduated our class of ADVID students. These are students that have been identified, and 100% graduation. All 100% of them went on to college with a $1.7 million savings to the families. I mean, this is super exciting. So if we can duplicate that, that's just another example of our success. I'm currently the board rep to our curriculum advisory, and it's a super exciting opportunity to hear about teachers and what they want to unveil and how they want to bring more of that magic to the classroom. And in just last month, I'm so excited for the board to hear, but these few board members will hear it early. Teachers are creating a mentoring program in which students would be paired with a teacher for potential education opportunities for them to consider being an educator. What a great way for them to see it firsthand. So I think we're doing this well. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Livingston.
Preparation for college and work begins at birth. And we're doing a lot more for those kiddos that are 0 to age 4. And I think that's really important. The whole science of brain development shows that, kids need that kind of development and that kind of stimulation. And I applaud Governor Dayton and his big push to increase pre-kindergarten. That said, once the kids, are in our school system, I think that that it's important that along the way they develop their individual passions, and maybe it's not going to a four-year college. Maybe it's going into a vocational field, which is great. There are great opportunities there, and I think that one thing that we're working on more and will be working on more are these pathways for students, so that even in middle school and getting into high school, they can have exposure to different opportunities that suit them, so that for example, maybe they go to Century College for a little bit during the day and take some course there that allows them to have a job that can actually lead to a certificate, so that they can pay their way or help pay their way through college. I mean, I think there's a lot more interest in exposing kids to the full range of opportunities for life after high school.
Thank you. Richard Bennett.
I was talking to one of the assistant principals of Bloomington Kennedy last spring, and I asked him what the best thing they did in getting kids ready for after high school. He said the absolute best thing we did is we stood at the door at 8 o'clock or whatever time they open, and basically grabbed the kids who were late, said this is not acceptable, and stayed on those kids. Those kids do not show up at 8:05. That's learning what the real world expects. That's the most important thing he said we did. Additionally, I'm not sure that our district has said, we've got to get them college ready. College ready, college has been in all the printouts for the last 5 or 6 years. It's ridiculous. Colleges aren't for everybody, just for what they're going to go into and for their aptitudes. There's so much more in the vocation. A lot of the vocation people make a heck of a lot more than the people coming out of the business schools ever do, and they're not burdened with tremendous debt. Some of the things that we've done lately here, we've opened a digital lab. Although I talked to a lot of teachers during the strategic planning thing, and they said they didn't know anything about the digital lab. The kids aren't going to magically show up there, and as I understand it now, there is like a communications that's sent out so that the people in the elementaries and the middle schools can understand pathways, as Nancy was talking about. You got to get them pathways. In Europe, it's much more defined, and we need to work that way. I think we should have AVID for everyone. It's a tremendous program. It seems to be very successful, and everybody should learn their study skills and their study habits, which is a major part of it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we begin with Nancy Livingston. Do you believe the state should adopt national curriculum standards? Why or why not?
I am a big believer in local control, so I do think that Mississippi is different than Minnesota. I don't think we should put, our federal tax dollars, our state tax dollars into that effort. I think we could spend the money better, developing our local goals for our students. We know our students, and we have excellent people developing our curriculum, and we know where it needs to be improved, and we go to the conferences and are very well versed on latest improvements in technology and so on. So I would stress that it's more important to spend our time and energy and money improving our local efforts.
Thank you. Richard Bennett.
The problem with national standards is they are incredibly slow and difficult to change. The idea of everybody getting to the same point is good in that, let's face it, if I'm looking for a job with a big company, I may be in North Carolina this year, I may be in California next year. So we have to all get to the same place. I think we're better off as smaller groups getting our students to that place. For example, as I understand it, textbooks are written for the state of Texas because Texas buys all their textbooks for all their classrooms at one time. So it's a big market. So the textbooks don't necessarily align with what we have for graduation standards here in this state, which means we're wasting a lot of money on textbooks that aren't where we need to be. So we need to get to the same place, but unfortunately we can't standardize. I'm kind of a wiki kind of guy. I think the state needs to develop the curriculum, put it in a wiki format so it can be easily updated online instead of textbooks that were, kind of created, 100 years ago. Thank you.
Okay. Steve Hunt.
These conversations come up a lot, especially in the context of standardized testing. And I always struggle to try and understand exactly what we mean when we say terms like national standards. Because I don't know if that means that everyone should strive to meet the same national standards as the lowest achieving national standard state in the union, or whether we should create national standards that represent half the states in the union. And even that wouldn't be acceptable to me because I grew up in a Minnesota that did much better than that. I grew up in a Minnesota that led the way in teaching standards and led the way in classroom results and led the way in college standards. And I think that with the right political incentives, we can be that again. I think we can do much better in Minnesota than what the rest of the country can do. And I think that we can produce the results out of our classrooms much higher than what national standards might suggest. I do actually agree with Rich in his comments about the Texas purchasing power dictating what the rest of the country uses in textbooks, because I think that we can also teach to much higher standards than that. I think in our classrooms in 622, the teachers take a lot of initiative to teach to the highest standards they can. There's a lot of creativity that goes on in the classrooms. And once again, I would encourage interested people to spend time in those classrooms and visit with those teachers and see the work that they're actually doing.
Thank you. Teresa Ogier.
If the question was, should our state adopt national standards, my answer is no. And the reason it's no is because Minnesota knows what's best for Minnesota. And one example about that is my fear would be we wouldn't have an American Indian section. And we have a very measurable population of students that are American Indian in this district. Another example is I was a parent rep on staff development prior to my election on the board, and like I said, I'm on the curriculum advisory, and these folks are a blend of all of our stakeholders, from business representatives to teachers to staff to principalships. And so we do a very thorough investigation of our curriculum, of all that we teach in our classrooms, and we have a outstanding new leadership in our teaching and learning department. I think that our district, we were the model for the world's best workforce. Department of Education came to our district and took our plan as a model for the remainder part of the state. So I think, one thing, as I'm the oldest of 6, and when my dad got transferred, the first thing my parents always did is look to see what schools were the best for public education, and that's where we put. I don't want to see Minnesota be less than it already is, our district to be less, because I think we do a great job.
Thank you. That was the last one? Yes. Okay, the next question. Begin with Teresa Auger. And what is the most important function of a school board member?
The most important thing is, you need to be present. You need to be a voice that's representing what your thoughts and ideas are. You work collectively as a team. One of the things that our Minnesota School Board Association puts out a little pamphlet, and it kind of outlines what is the role of the school board. And there's some normal things, such as you hire and evaluate a superintendent. You set policy and direction for the district. But more importantly, you're there to support and empower that individual sets the goal and the vision for the district. We've talked about the importance of being civil to one another, to be able to make sure all of us are heard, to be informed, to be prepared, to read your materials. Steve mentioned earlier, there's a lot of work we do at home prior to coming. So you come with your questions, you come with, you're ready to learn and to be open-minded. But most importantly, no matter what the decision is, you walk out supporting the decision of the board.
Next is Steve Hunt.
Well, theoretically, the 3 functions of the board are to hire and evaluate the superintendent, set and approve policies, and provide a balanced budget for the school district. But in addition to those roles, I think the other important roles for the board members are to listen, to show up, and to be part of the conversation and to be part of the process. It's not just enough to be a board member. I think that you have to be an active board member, and you have to be sure and know that you are going to set aside time in your daily and professional life to pay attention to what's going on in public education, not only in our district, but in our state and sometimes at the national level. And then to give that as much thought as you can, share those conversations with other folks in the community and with your fellow board members, and then do the best you can to vote as a board member in ways that move the district forward. I think that board members also have a responsibility to be part of a larger process, and that's to participate in state school board association events and know what our colleagues are doing around the state. And then I also would be remiss if I didn't say that I think that an important role of the board members is to understand that we are also the largest or one of the largest employers in the district, and have a responsibility to our staff to maintain the highest standards of management that we can, so we can provide competitive wages and benefits to attract and keep people working at high levels in our school district.
Thank you. Richard Bennett.
Well, technically, the things they're supposed to do is right. Steve is right. Hire a superintendent and review their process. Set policies. An incredible amount of our policies are paper rigmarole that we import from the State School Board Association or the Metro Twin Cities. We take these policies and just Xerox them and put them in our notebook. There is some discussion on them. Not sure how beneficial it is. And the other thing we need to do is provide a balanced budget. I'm looking at the district's information on what they needed to provide a balanced budget. It says they need $3.5 million every year, and yet we're doing a levy for 6.8. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The budgets we've approved lately, they include a computer stipend, which I think is ridiculous. These people are all wealthy and can afford their own computers. So every 2 years, some people have taken a $1,000 stipend when they don't really need it. $1,000 makes, that's a hell of a computer nowadays. and they're eligible for the new stipend again in January, so in February, let's look to see how many people have applied for it. Those computer stipends, $1,000 apiece, so $7,000 in 2013, $3,000 since then. All that money could easily go to the classroom, where the classroom teachers could find many, many more beneficial uses than providing computers to people who should already be able to afford their own computer. Okay?
Thank you. Nancy Livingston.
Well, we don't want to end up like Lake Elmo. There's a community with it's kind of a poster child for dysfunction. The Minnesota School Board Association tells us that the most important thing we have as a school board is our relationship with each other. And this means being respectful. It means, of course, having standards, doing your homework. But it also means being civil, realizing that you're one member, you're not going to get your way all the time. Compromise is kind of the name of the game. And so we have to be productive, but we have to work as a team. And we're 7 very different people. And sometimes it takes a while to develop a good working relationship, which is why we do spend time once a year at a retreat, for example. Sometimes it takes a lot of talking, a lot of conversation to understand and reach a collective agreement about where we're going and how we're going to get there. I think that it's important to be aware not only of the conditions in the district, but go to the state events, go to the national events when we can, to make sure that we're doing the very best for our kids.
Thank you. Next question will begin with Richard Bennett. Describe how you would communicate and connect with parents and teachers in the district.
Well, I definitely would like to see a monthly meeting. They had a forum for a while before the school board meetings, and the first one they had about 100 people in here. They were just jammed in the back of the room. I don't remember what it was about, but if we can get 100 people in, we'll probably have 200 the next month and 300 the next month, and probably get people back into the district. The district since 2000, 2001, has done everything they can to keep everybody out of the schools who's not a student or a teacher. It's been very unfriendly place. As I say, the first thing you see if you wanted to check out their study sessions, it says, we're open to the public, but you're not allowed to speak. That's just ridiculous. How do you meet? We've got libraries that have free conference rooms. I would have a meeting every Saturday after the board meeting. I would try to get the issues brought up before the board not to be handled in one meeting. They would be presented in meeting A, voted on in meeting B. So there's actually time for the board members to discuss it with themselves and with the citizens. I know Steve has complained in the past that he sees something at 7:15 and has to vote on it at 8. He doesn't really have time to think about it a whole lot. You see a presentation in your board packet, but until somebody gives the presentation and you understand what they're going for, you don't always understand, and it doesn't give you an opportunity to talk with anybody else the way we operate today.
Thank you. Nancy Livingston.
School boards across the state, across the country really are struggling with this. I've gone to many sessions about how to increase community engagement. And we do need to do better. I think that we did a survey one time, and we found out that most parents rely on the information that kids bring home in their backpacks in those school newsletters. And so we have beefed up our efforts relative to school newsletters. And then, social media has made such a difference. Teachers now are emailing and talking with parents, texting with parents, way outside of the school day. I think that people are busy, and they have to have a reason to leave their kids, to leave the dishes, to leave the lawn unmowed, and come to something. It has to be compelling, and so we're sympathetic with that. So we are struggling. For example, what sorts of events would appeal to people? The most successful ones that we've had are actually, I remember we had Dr. David Walsh came in and spoke to parents one time about parenting. Parenting is hard. I struggled with it. Everybody does. So the more we can do to help our parents be good parents, the better our schools will be.
Thank you, Teresa Auger.
I think the question was how would I communicate or connect better with teachers and parents, if that was the question. Well, sometimes as a board member, we rely on district initiatives or school initiatives or events to bring those very entities together. One such opportunity that our district just put on is our strategic plan. So, it sent out an invitation for stakeholders of all different sorts to gather together to talk about issues. And I think it's very, very important. I think I participated in it. It's great to be at the table and have all those variety of people there. The other thing is teachers represent just one bargaining unit in our district, so we also have ed assistants and clerical and bus drivers and the like. And so I think it's important. Our board has talked about this. How can we hear more? How can we connect more and better? And one great initiative that's going on right now is we have our teachers union working closely with our superintendent and our leadership and trying to build and strengthen those relationships. And so we share through that. But the other thing that, not just parents, but we have an initiative going on right now with our seniors where we can give them access to some of our athletic events. It's one way. Part of phase 4 of our Minnesota School Board's training is connecting with the community. And I think that's a very important piece. Steve and I attended and brought back some ideas, and we're just starting to now implement those. But like Nancy said, we can do better at this. It's one that I think we don't score very well, and I'd like to see us change that. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Hunt.
As a board, this is probably one of the areas where we've struggled the most, is trying to understand the tools and resources that parents in the community use to connect to their schools and to figure out how to share that information from the board perspective. The question, though, is that how to communicate and connect with parents and teachers. As a board member, one of the first things I think that you learn is that the community and the parents place a tremendous amount of trust in us to take care of their kids, to educate their kids, to protect their kids, and provide a safe learning environment. And no one on the board, I think either as individuals or as a board in total, no matter who the board members might be in the future, take that responsibility lightly. I think that's something that we bring to the board when we have our discussions, and I think it's something that we think of every time we're out in the community talking to people. As a board member, you wear a couple of different hats every single day. You're a parent in the morning when you send your kids off to school, you're a community member in the afternoon when you go grocery shopping, and you're a board member when you show up and attend study sessions or go to official board meetings or vote on board actions. And part of that also requires that the public understand that they are an integral part of this process. And again, I would highly recommend that any member of the public that wants to get engaged in the school system and public education in our district simply needs to go to the website, pick up the phone, call the business manager, call the superintendent's office, call a board member, find out when the meetings are, and show up.
Thank you. Next question, we begins with Nancy Livingston. What are the technology needs for the district in the next 3 years, and how should they be funded?
Well, we did try to pass a technology levy last year. It did not pass. We did, I make no apologies for doing that. We did need the money. So we have a technology plan. We're trying to keep everything up to speed. But it is difficult. We have whiteboards, for example, the boards that teachers use to bring the internet into the classroom, and they're some of them aren't. They need replacement. So we're doing the best we can with what we have, and our needs are great. I mean, we're not. We don't get any extra money from the state for technology. We take it out of Hyde. We pay for our technology through our general operating funds. So again, we're hoping that the levy referendum passes so that we can continue to replace the things that need to be replaced because they're old and broken, and we will be listening to to people's needs and working on a plan. One plan for if the money comes in, one plan, of course, if it doesn't.
Thank you. Next is Steve Hunt.
Well, like Nancy said, without specific dollars allocated to it, any technology needs that we currently have, we meet through general fund expenditures. Part of that is our technology department constantly provides us with updates of our current technology capabilities and advises us on things that will need to be replaced or things that are being worn out or things that they just simply can't find the parts to fix anymore because they've been working with outdated equipment far too long. The part of what the board is doing, and I think will continue to do, is monitor the process of the use of technology in the classrooms. One of my favorite analogies is that I grew up driving a stick shift. My boys grew up driving an automatic. My youngest daughter may never actually have to drive a car. And I think that technology is doing the same thing. The mainframes that I worked with in college don't exist anymore. There's more power in my daughter's hands every day than I ever would have imagined. And how we incorporate the use of that technology into our classrooms is extremely important, and in our district is proving to be pretty effective. We've spent a lot of time working with that. But the bottom line is technology is expensive, and it wears out. And it wears out faster now than it ever has in the past. And we have to constantly monitor that process and plan for it in our general fund expenditures.
Thank you. Teresa Auger.
What are the technology needs for the next 3 years? The needs are many. This is one department that's gotten cut just about every time whenever we've had to cut the budget because it's something that's misunderstood sometimes by just a general layperson. We heard earlier about the technology needs that the board members had to have, and I can't express enough that we really feel it's so important that we want to model that. But we have students that we provide them with a computer, We have to give them a little device that helps provide them with Wi-Fi or internet at home so they can do their homework, because we have many of our taxpayers that don't have those capabilities in their buildings or in their homes. We have students, a program that they use the library, the local library, to get some of that internet access. But like Steve said, technology today is advancing so quickly that if we don't keep up, we're not preparing our students for that global world that they need to be a part of, that they need to be actively involved in. I see social media. I see our textbooks evolving to electronic form in some shape or form. I don't know if it'll be in 3 years. Some ways that we could figure out how to fund it might include grants, or I know we're getting some kickback from our E-rate availability, and collaborating with other entities like we did when we put in the fiber through the city of North St. Paul along the Highway 36. So we do have a technology plan. We need to stick to that plan, and we rely on our technology director to bring the most innovative ideas at what we can afford to us. Thank you.
Richard Bennett.
Well, thank God that's not an issue for the board members, because they've sucked up all the money that they can for computers, and they'll get some more in the beginning of the year. We need to partner. A couple years ago, North St. Paul was trying to do what they called PolarNet. They wanted to run fiber to every building in the city. We didn't really support it. We should have got behind it, push, push, push. If North St. Paul did it, Maplewood and Oakdale, the rest of the communities may follow. It really makes sense. In the next few years, the books will have to go away. If you look at colleges, the books have pretty much gone away. They can get online help. They can get extra problems. There's such a big advantage, and we don't have the money to do it. One of the reasons we don't have the money to do it, we got voted out. We got voted down last time. The reason we got voted down is no one understood it. I even called the office, the superintendent's office, and I said, gee, it seems like a small amount of money that we're going for $3 million. Like, no, that was $3 million a year. It was like nobody really knew what that technology vote was last time around. We need to get the people in the schools. 80% of the people in the district do not have any contact with the school whatsoever. We need to figure out how to get them in and show them the smart boards, for example. They will be blown away once they see those. And then we can explain how we can bring technology, how it can bring more information into the schools faster, and then they'll pass the levy. It won't be a problem at all.
Thank you. And that is all the time we have for questions. And we'll turn now to final statements, closing statements, all of you up here, and then I'll read the two for the candidates who are not here. And I'm sorry if we didn't get to ask your question. You are in between the candidates leaving, so feel free to ask them directly on their way coming out. So we begin our closing statements with Steve Hunt.
Thank you, and once again, I'd like to thank the League for giving us this opportunity this evening. 9 years ago, I was a parent in the district and was interested in how school finance worked. I had an opportunity to become part of the Citizens Finance Committee and rapidly got an education which led me to the understanding that I had no idea how school finance worked. That I didn't believe that it was as complex as it turned out to be. I didn't understand why certain monies could be allocated in one checkbook and couldn't be used for other purposes. But with my time on the board, I've come to understand that partly that's the way it is. And there's some things about that we can't change without some drastic reforms in how we finance education in this state. And that's part of a larger arena discussion which doesn't impact very much your work as a school board member, except to learn to live with the frustration that you have some dollars here that you can't use for some initiatives in other areas. But part of what I also learned while I went through that process was that when we couldn't find money to fund the initiatives that we thought were important, we found staff in our district who could come up with creative solutions to help us work on those initiatives and meet some of those needs. We have incredible staff in the district, and I think that one of the things that we need to do as a board member is to champion the work that they do and make sure that as much as we possibly can, we give them the tools and resources that they need to work with. I could cry every night knowing that one of my children that I thought would never be able to function in a mainstream classroom can. And as a junior in high school, she is doing that. And I have every belief that the teachers in that school will help her graduate. And I think that every single family in our district can benefit from similar ways that our classrooms can work for the students.
Thank you.
And in North St. Paul and Maplewood, Oakdale,
Thank
I'm
you.
proud that we
Time.
do that.
Richard Bennett.
We need to bring people into the schools. It's our number one problem that we have. If you want to pass a levy, it's easier to get money from a friend, somebody you know and somebody who knows you, than it is to get money from somebody who you've done everything you can to keep out. They can, you know, if you want to spend the time and go to the study sessions, why should you go? You're not going to get to ask any questions. No one's going to talk to you. So we're doing so many things wrong trying to keep people out of the classrooms now. They talked about class size in one of the things. There was over at Skyview, there's allegedly a class of like 35 fifth graders. Well, that's not necessarily a problem because of staffing. In White Bear, some of the schools are K through 2 and then 3 through 5, which allows in my grandchild's class, they have 9 kindergartens in that one class. It allows them to balance the load a lot better. This school district has not done that. They don't want to innovate. If they don't want to do that, they could move the fifth graders into the middle schools where there's more room. Again, the school board doesn't want to innovate. They want to do whatever, the least possible and things that they've always done. It's what they're comfortable with. I guess really, I think you need to get somebody on the school board who's a cowboy, who will listen to people, who will fight for things that the others don't really care to spend any time on, and will get some butts in seats. The school district that I'm associated with, otherwise, they have free golf, they open gyms, open pools, anything they can to get their people in. And I know we're getting 60-year-olds tickets to the football games, and that's a great idea.
Thank you. Teresa Auger.
In closing, I would like to thank our moderator, the League of Women Voters, the members of our audience at home, and those that are here for this opportunity so that you can hear each of our opinions tonight. I believe that education is the essential ingredient to individual success and strong communities. Children deserve the right to an education that prepares them for the future. And the key to a good education is providing a positive, healthy, and safe environment, great teachers, parent involvement, and measurable outcomes of student achievement. And we have that here. I admire the courageous steps we've taken to be a district leader, and I support the levy. I'm also proud of our education programs, our early education initiatives, and excelling high school college classes, just to name a few. We've had many staff nominated for Teacher of the Year. I'm proud of that. Schools excelling in test scores. I'm proud of that. And these accomplishments are achieved with great leadership. We've hired a fantastic superintendent. I will continue to be involved and informed within our schools and our community. I will not stop being an advocate for students and staff. I will champion efforts to increase our success within the classroom, and I will continue to advocate for prudent use of our public dollars. Many years ago when my children started school, I liked what I saw going on in the classroom and the enthusiasm for education I experienced through my child's teachers then, and their programs compelled me to want to be a part of our school system. And today, many years later, and after having serving the residents as a school board member, that same enthusiasm holds strong today. I like what's happening in our schools. I have no hidden agenda, and I will hold myself accountable to our parents, teachers, staff, and taxpayers. And I have the time, willingness, and support of my family for this role. I ask for your support and your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Livingston.
Thank you. Thank you to the League for giving us this opportunity. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve on the school board. It's not always fun. It's sometimes stressful, but it's really rewarding. And it's rewarding because you see the good work that's being done and you want to support those people. You want to help. And I don't believe that my work is done here. I want to continue to fight for example, for equal funding for schools across Minnesota. There is a lot more work to be done in that area. What's happening now is just flatly unconstitutional. I know it sounds like a cliche, but strong schools do make strong communities, and I want to help keep our communities strong.
Thank you. And I'll read now the closing statements from two candidates who could not be here. The first is from Dan Porter. Dan Porter's work in the school system and his core values, passion, and commitment to this community is what sets him apart from other candidates. He is committed to continue making a difference in his community for all our children's education. He feels strongly that there is no better place in which to provide public service than by serving on the local school board. Our children are Minnesota and our nation's future. Please vote Danny Porter on November 8th and don't hesitate to reach out to me if I can be of support or if you have any questions in supporting District 622. Then the statement from Becky Navy. In closing, I would like to share with you a little more about who I am and what is important to me. Some of you may be familiar with StrengthsFinder 2.0. In July 2015, the board completed this exercise to identify the strengths we bring as individuals to our work on the board. This is important because we can be more effective as a board when we understand ourselves and each other better. I would like to share my top 5 to provide you with a better understanding of what drives my work. 1, belief. This is about core values which provide direction toward a consistent set of priorities. They result in others seeing me as responsible, dependable, and trustworthy. 2, connectedness. I believe we are all connected. When you take away the labels we place on ourselves based on our race, religion, and gender, we are left with our shared humanity. Everything we do will impact others. It is this strength that enables me to never lose sight of the big picture. 3, harmony. With a harmony theme, there is little to be gained from conflict and friction. We are all on the same team. We need to work together to make change happen and achieve our goals. 4, responsibility. This is about taking psychological ownership of what I commit to. 5, achiever. My husband jokes that he will never be able to keep up with me. As an achiever, I am constantly striving for accomplishment. It brings me the energy needed to take on tasks and challenges, and is demonstrated through the many different ways I serve the community, giving my time and talents. Having served for 4 years and using that time to grow as a board member, I value how much I've learned. I look forward to having the opportunity to use this knowledge to continue working to improve District 622. And so, this is the end of our forum. I thank the candidates for participating in the forum and for participating in our democracy by running for office. I thank the audience here who stepped up even after a Prince concert was going on, and our audience who will be watching this at home. In closing, I remind everyone the election is November 8th, and I encourage you to take a friend and a neighbor with you to vote. So thank you and good night.